thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be featuring a no-line watercoloring technique featuring Hero Arts products. For today's project, I'm going to be using the new Thank You Messages stamp set from Hero Arts, and I'm going to be pairing it with the Marianne's Flowers stamp set, also by Hero Arts. I'm going to be doing some no-line watercoloring, and I'm going to be using some Simon Says stamp Barely Beige ink to stamp my images. This Barely Beige ink is super light and it allows the images to be stamped very pale, so that way when I do the no-line watercoloring over top, or any kind of coloring for that matter, I will be able to not see the lines through the coloring because the ink is so pale you won't be able to see it. For my coloring, I'm doing some Zig Clean Color marker coloring. I'm creating the shading with my markers, and I'm using the markers to add the darkest color along the very edges where the petals meet each other, and then I'm using my water brush to go ahead and blend that out, and that allows me to get a very dimensional look very easily and quickly without having to work too hard at creating dimension. As I'm working on blending that color out, I like to use my water brush to make sure that I wipe off some of the excess paint as I go along. This allows me to be able to blend the coloring out towards a very lighter color, and that way I will have a very pale area to mimic the highlight of the flower. And I'm also doing the leaves in the exact same way. I'm creating some darker areas in the center, and then I'm blending that out towards the edges, but I'm wiping off my brush as I go along because that'll allow me to create the dimension. Here's a look at how I finished off the card. This is a really fun technique and very easy. I'll go ahead and show you again how I did this time using the lily, this other image in the stamp set. I'm creating that same type of effect, this time using some different colors. I'm going to be using some yellows and pinks, and I'm blending those together to create an orangey tone. You can do this technique with any type of medium that you have. I'm choosing to work with Zig Clean Color markers because I enjoy doing the watercoloring, but if you want to do something, say with Copics or colored pencils, you could definitely do so and still get the same types of effect. If you're interested in any of the colors that I used for these flowers, I have them listed over on the blog, so you can go ahead and check those out. The link is in the video description. One of the things that I love about this ink is that as I do the no-line coloring, it creates a really dark effect on the areas of the outlines of the flowers, and that gives me a little bit more dimension, and I don't have to work as hard to create those detailed lines because those lines already create themselves as I add the color onto the paper. So next it's time to add some backgrounds to these flowers. I'm going to be using my ink duster brushes and some dye inks. This one here is Soft Pool from Hero Arts, and I'm going to start blending this around my rose. I'm going to try to focus most of the ink right around the areas of this rose. I have this masked off so that way I can make sure I don't get any ink over top of our coloring, and I'm going to create a very neat halo effect. As I remove the mask, you can see the great results of how that mask just allowed the color to go around the flower itself, and then we have the flower just popping right off the paper. I did the same thing for the lily. This time I'm using a yellow ink to go around the flower, and again I'm using that same light motion where I'm trying to get the color to kind of fade out towards the edges. I'll remove the mask, and I just love removing these masks to see how the inking turned out. It just looks so cool. I'm going to now take my stitched rectangle dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to cut out these flowers using the second largest of those dies. I'm going to cut these down so that way I can put them onto a card base. I turn this at an angle so that way it will cut a little bit easier in my die cutting machine. If you have it a little bit tipped, it runs through the machine a little bit better. For my card bases, I'm going to be using some Hero Arts stencils to add a very light design to the actual card bases. These card bases are cut from Dull Pink and some Sunshine cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to use my ink duster brushes once again to add the ink through the stencil. These ink duster brushes make adding ink through a stencil really easy. They don't push too hard on the stencil, so it doesn't allow it to shift, and I also have it taped down just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. So here's a look at that subtle design we have on the card bases. I popped some foam tape on the back side of these cards, and I also added some sentiments using that Thank You Messages stamp set. I stamped those in some dark chocolate ink from Simon Says Stamp. So after I pop those up, I'm going to take some little embellishments and add them to my cards. For the lily, I added some Nouveau glitter drops, and then for the rose, I added a few Pretty Pink Posh clear droplets onto the card as well. So that's going to finish off these cards. I hope this has inspired you to do some no-line watercoloring of your own. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, or you can head on over to the blog to get more information on these cards, including still pictures, products used, and also all the colors that I used for my coloring. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiration. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye!